I don't know when you're seeing this in the season. It might be right at the beginning of your season. But there's a reason your hunting sucks. And sucks is, it's all relative. And I'm not referring to the biggest bucks. Maybe you're not seeing the biggest bucks in your area. Maybe you're not seeing deer in general. Who knows? But typically, when we go to a client parcel, we're not only diagnosing their habitat, we're diagnosing how they hunt. And in fact, hunting is always the lowest hole in the bucket. A lot of people, you can't go to school to learn how to create and design habitat improvements on someone's parcel or a good habitat or deer hunting design. And the reason is you can go to school for planting food plots, agronomy. You can learn about the biology of deer. You can learn about timber management. You can go to school for that. However, as it applies to a hunting plan, you can't create a hunting plan unless you have high-end complementary hunting strategies to go along with that plan. And that's where you can't go to school for. And the thing about that is you can't learn in a classroom. That means it takes years of experience to learn how to do it in general. And that's like a lot of things in life. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of experience. And even developing a hunting plan, you have to understand the difference between public land, small private land, big resource land, small resource land, regional size of deer herds. You have to understand a lot of different angles to even go onto someone's land. But the point is, hunting is always the lowest hole in the bucket, and that's something you can't learn in a classroom. And that's why a lot of hunting sucks. And even look at the person that puts a ton of money into their habitat management. The more money you spend, if you don't hunt it right, which most people don't, it's not something you can learn. And a lot of times, the problem is people, say, well, we're having you out to the land because we knew we could figure this out in 10, 20 years, but we wanted to speed up that process. And no, they couldn't have figured it out in 10, 20 years because they don't go to 1,000 other parcels or hundreds of other parcels. They don't analyze it as, if you're not hunting correctly as a deer hunter, that usually doesn't all of a sudden just take place, especially if people repetitively do the same thing over and over again the wrong way. You're just not learning. You might learn not to do something here or there. But the bottom line is, there are reasons that in general, we look at a property and we diagnose it where hunting is poor, and it boils down to a lot of times these three reasons. One of the surest signs on private land especially, but this also applies to public land, is you don't have defined AM and PM stands. People even look at it like, well, what's a morning stand? There's no such thing as a morning stand. That right there, whoever says that, doesn't understand advanced hunting strategies. Morning stands will always relate to bedding areas. Afternoon stands always relate to afternoon food sources. More of those food sources where deer go to and hang out before dark and then leave, go to a destination somewhere else after dark. I call them holding plots. Holding food sources. Where do those deer stage up and feed? They've been in their bedding areas. They've been eating woody shrub tips, acorns, hardwood regeneration, briars. They've been eating that all day. It's hard to digest, woody browse. In fact, fawns, for example, can't digest that until they get into the fall. And that's all that's available. It's kind of nature's way of, you're not going to be able to digest this woody browse until the right time, until you reach the right age when there's no herbaceous growth available. And otherwise, they wouldn't be able to digest this woody browse. It's hard for deer to digest in general. It'd be for us, too. We have a hard time digesting corn, for example, so do they. So it's similar as far as that goes. And they want to go eat something really easy on their stomach, quick consumption. That's right before dark. They've been sitting in their bedding area all day. They can't wait to do so. And that's where those afternoon stands relate to. You wouldn't want to hunt there in the morning because you're spooking deer out in a food source movement like that. They're already around there. Likewise, you wouldn't want to go into a bedding area stand or on the outside of a bedding area with the right wind even in the afternoon because you don't know exactly where those deer are bedded. No one can say, I made a bed this way and that's where those bucks are going to be. That's hogwash. You can't do that. You don't know where they're at. They might be in the same 5 to 10 acres. You don't know where. Maybe they're stretching their legs and they're eating on a white oak acorn crop near a stand location. You go in there at 3 in the afternoon, it's getting dark at 6, and you spook them because they're already there. So a stand that you can hunt in the morning, you know where the deer are at, you can get out of. But when you go in blind in the afternoon, you don't know where the deer are at. You know if they're just feeding through. You don't know if they're bedded nearby. But that definition of morning stands are here, afternoon stands are here, you have to know and understand that. And that's a surest sign of a property that it's not doing well. Or a hunt, even on public land, that's not doing well. If you can't say I'm hunting here in the morning because of this, deer are bedding here, moving here from bedding, moving from big food to bedding, it's a mile away from those big food sources on the outside of the public land, and I'm just hunting in that area waiting for them to come back. If you don't have a purpose for that, then that's a reason that your hunting is going to be very poor. And it's the same with afternoon food sources. If you're hunting on this food source, that's great. That's the perfect timing. But then at the same time, are you over hunting that food source? And that's number two. And that kills most properties. Let's face it, I would say 95% of all food plotters do it wrong when it comes to hunting. And that's not a slam on hunters in general. It's just you plant this beautiful food plot, you're attracting a lot of deer, you get a lot of trail cam photos, you want to go sit in the middle of it. The problem is you spook deer out, sometimes getting into it, sometimes while you're sitting in it, because deer can come in from any direction, they smell you and they spook. Once you spook out that food source, a food source that had 6 bucks on it, we have a food source right out here we call the Hermit Plot. Right now, L.O. Beam's coming in, he's a beautiful 5-year-old. And then, Dylan, how old would you say Shorty is? Would he be at least 5?
I would say he looks like a 5-year-old, yeah.
So L.O. Beams is coming out first. Shorty's coming second. And then there's 2 or 3 other bucks in the field that are smaller that are all staring at those 2 giants walking in. That field has good bucks in it and does every single day, but we can't hunt it. It's more of a gun season stand. We can hunt that water hole right next to it. I shot and one there a few years ago. That's just off that, about 70, 80 yards. We can hunt another funnel stand on the other side. So we can get into that and hunt it in a way. That's the whole idea for these setups, afternoon, morning. But bottom line is we go out in that food source. We had a cover stand last year. We could hunt in the corn where they weren't feeding on the corn. The corn was past the big oak. We could walk in through a tunnel through the corn, get in the big oak, blow our scent back into the corn, and we could watch the green where we have a mock scrape tree with a red cedar, and it's working out great. But we can't do that when there's no cover to get into that stand. We can't hunt that food plot, or we're spooking all the deer and we ruin our hunt. We ruin that 30 acres around it too. And that's the problem with food plots. They attract just as many hunters as they do deer, and that's a bad thing. Being the number one failure on most small parcels. And it's no different if you're hunting a big acorn flat on public land. You go sit right in the middle of it, and you spook out the deer. Instead, hunt off to the side. Now you can hunt with different winds, different approaches, several days in a row, and never really sit and expose yourself to the deer that are on that food source or spook them off. You're always better spooking deer out of a bedding area than you are a food source, because the food source is what anchors are moving every single day in the afternoon. They go to that food source, they're bedding here, they go there. If you spook them out of the bedding area, they'll likely just shift over and still hit that same food source if there's room to do so. But if you spook out the food source, they're not in those bedding areas. And that's the problem with most hunting, especially around food plots. Big food sources out on public land, even a clear cut, stand of acorns, a hidden fruit stand, stand of apple trees around an old home site. Once you spook that out, those deer are not there. They're not coming in the daylight. First day there's 11 deer, bucks and does out there. You spook it out. The next night there's 1 or 2 little ones that are a doe that comes in with a fawn. And then pretty soon there's no deer coming in during the daylight. And that, again, ruins most properties. You have to learn to manage the attraction of habitat improvements, especially with the most powerful attraction being food. You have to learn to manage the attraction of that. That's what I like about water holes or mock scrapes. Deer just through half minute, and then they're gone. So even getting in and out of stand, you're safer because deer are not there for that long. When you get a big food source, they could be there for 2 hours. That's why a little hunting plot off to the side of a big food source is an actual hunting plot. I call it a holding plot. That's what holds deer until dark. That's what you can't afford to spook out. And then finally, number 3, kind of along with the overhunting a food source, you can't kill them from the couch has saved more mature bucks throughout the decades with that bad piece of advice than any other portion of advice out there. You can kill them from the couch. It's called patience and being smart. Meaning when you go into a stand location, you have a purpose for going into that stand. This is the morning stand. This is an evening stand. It's off a major food source. I know they're traveling over there. That's hunting with a purpose. The weather's great. It's not real windy. It's not blowing the wrong direction. It's not pouring rain. It's settled down. It's not an extremely hot day. You have purpose when you go into that stand. That's why I helped develop HuntCast with HuntWise. The link is in the description. That's why I helped develop that. I've been hunting the weather for decades. I developed that for an article in 2016 for Outdoor Life about hunting the rut. It was their November rut issue. Big feature article of that, and it was about that weather algorithm. It actually discusses algorithm in there. Bottom line is, though, you have to hunt with a purpose. If you follow this saying right here, can't kill them from the couch, that's going to make you a bad hunter, because that means you're just trying to hunt anytime you can. I can go along with that. But if actually you want to be a good hunter and you know that this stand is really hot, but it's the wrong wind, it's the wrong day, it's the wrong weather, and you only have a weekend to hunt, at least slant your hunt towards the best weather day out of Saturday and Sunday. And if you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can surely pick the best weather day. Don't go in to that stand saying, well, I'm going to go into my best stand the first day. I'd rather build to that. Even if my best weather day was Sunday and I could hunt Friday and Saturday, I'd rather save that for the perfect conditions, going in with a purpose, knowing that I have great chance to shoot a buck. There's many times I go into a rut stand and I think, boy, I have a 40-50% chance of shooting a target buck in this location because I've saved it, I haven't spooked it, I haven't hunted the local food source nearby that they're going to every afternoon, that holding food source, and overspooked it. I know that this is an afternoon stand or this is a morning stand for the rut, and I go in with a purpose and you end up shooting that buck. It's like you don't need a lot of hunting strategy, you just need to follow the rules. And a lot of times when it boils down to bad hunting and poor hunting opportunities, it's because you're not following these 3 rules right here. And we can come up with 15 more. I have a big video out there, it's probably approaching 2 million views. It's 10 hunter mistakes, 10 worst hunter mistakes. You can find it pretty easy. I go through a laundry list there. And talk about access. If you're accessing all the time through poor areas, if you're not covering your scent up, going in and out, you're leaving a spider web of scent around the... If you're relying on scent, thinking I'm going to cover up my scent and blow my scent right at those does, fawns, big buck, there's a lot of ways you can mess up. But it all boils down to this right here. Can't kill them from the couch. That could apply to not hunting the right weather days, being overly aggressive, hunting poorly. Also, over hunting food sources, very, very bad. And a big sign that you're on the way to a path of poor hunting is that you don't know if you're hunting an AM or PM stand. That's why we produce all the strategy content for you here. I appreciate you following. You know, just as a side note, check out Instagram. Whitetail Habitat Solutions. If you look up Jeff Sturgis, you can find my Instagram. I spend a lot of time on Instagram, just little quick hitting points, put out a lot of trail cam footage on there, and little points, little weather alerts. There's a lot of little short things that I do on there to try to help you guys understand whitetail hunting and apply a high-level strategy to your hunt this fall and beyond. Now, I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, or WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also, Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. Everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there. And then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things. And this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.